Yeah, baby. That's right. Hello, everybody. How's it going? Let me get... Oh, I forgot about that. Hey there, everybody. I'm wearing the same shirt. I did not do that. This thing... Fucking AI is in the hizzy. In the shizzy hizzy. Who asked that question? Who was it? First of all, Jeff Snyder. Fucking hey, dude. What a lead. This says an electric guitar. It's like a guitar solo. He says, "We live. Embrace your inner sleaze stack." That's, oh man, nailed it. I would not have. That's why we gave him the guitar. That's why. You guys should subscribe to Jeff Snyder. Hit his name there. Jeff Snyder 2, forgive me. Hit that. He's on his second life. What do you know? They were like, dude, you get to keep your name because you crank out some. He's like the Ace Frehley of Nosterotica. Yeah. You're a little bit erotica. You are, Jeff. You know this. We differ sometimes. We've had some fisticuffs where you're like, you're not erotic enough. And I'm like, dude, put your pants on, Jeff. Put your pants on. Me, however, I am not wearing pants because it is No Pants Friday. And I am actually wearing pants. Actually, wait. Someone reminded me that I tell a lie every show, which I think it's funny because the show that I said that, I actually even gave away the answer. I said, including what I'm about to say, every lie I will tell you one lie every show. And only some people just skip right by that. Some people automatically assumed, well, that means he's going to have to. Do you see what I mean? This is actually a big part of today's show. Audio's good, I hope. Everybody's in the... Oh, thank you, Stretch. Stretch is already like, let me put this up here because he's just going to complain. He's going to complain. He's going to be up there going, if someone would... James is kind of passive-aggressive to say this online. Speaking of which, talk about passive-aggressive. One of you has asked, hey man, when are you going to publish the playlist? And if you go to James True Live on the main channel and you click on playlist, you will see a playlist called Music of James True Live. And if you go there, you're going to have a good time. You're going to have a good time, man. You're going to have a good time. Exactly, Linda B. That was probably a lie. However, I do lie. I lie. And that doesn't mean you can trust me now. It doesn't mean, oh, well, all right, so James is in this special. No. I have limbic propaganda flowing through my veins. Flowing through there. It's just flowing through there. It's all like poke, you know. I got my own agenda. And my agenda is based on a lot of epigenetic history that frankly is none of your fucking business. You know, I'm going to be human. And I'm going to heyoka myself in public with the rest of them. It's going to happen. And that's why I want to embrace the inner reptile. We live. This is a new motto. It's a new motto. Yeah. My slee is stacking it, baby. He's stacking those sleeves. Stacking them. We got a good show today, whether you think it or not. Hey, Sandy Fair, new friends in town. Sandy, oh man, I got a story about a crow for you. I'm thinking it's actually so personal. I rather just wait till we meet. It's like that kind of thing. Yeah, 20,000, Eric C. That's amazing, right? Some of you may have been with me back when I had 24,000. And you were like, wow, James, you're almost back to where you were before you released Lucifer's Oil. And it's like, yeah, that's what happened. I did a stream where I defended the concept of Lucifer. I got really sick of everyone saying the Luciferians are controlling everything. And if we just get the Luciferian skullfuckers, then we'll be safe. Meanwhile, they're putting their children on yellow shipping containers and sending them off to school. They're cutting off their kids' penises, and they're telling things like, Bitcoin is evil, we must embrace the petrodollar, and they're cramming dollar bills up their butt because they're afraid that the British are coming. And I'm looking at them going, I get why people are Freemasons. If a Freemason came to me and said, James, why don't we just... Okay, so back in the Black Forest days, right? Maybe not today. I'm a little bit too tame. I'm way too tame. But back in the day, right? Freemason knocks on your door. You open the door. Oh, what is this thou'th? Thomasith, right? You've got a lisp. You have a lisp, but because you're living in old England, no one knows. And so you are like on top of it. You're just like, I cannot believeth this. My lispeth is hiddeneth by the beckoning of the tongueth. And you're just like, man, I'm kicking ass, right? So Freemason comes along. He doesn't mind your lisp. He calls you lispy behind your back, and that's all right. That's all right. So he's like, hey, man, some dude said that if they didn't sacrifice my daughter's virginity to the god of global warming, everyone was going to die. And so they took my daughter, and it was awful. I'm pretty upset about it. I'm going to go kick some ass. Do you want to join me? I'd be like, I'd look and see the Red Cross, and I'd be like, this dude isn't like good. I'm not like, oh, let me follow you. I'm more like, do I pollinate the land? Do I pollinate the land? And I would hope that I would have. I hope that I would have. And maybe if I wasn't like proficient enough, because like a Freemason today would be like Trying to think of a really good example for you guys. It's so hard to figure out who's actually. You know what? You guys are probably not going to like this. I think Peter Thiel's probably a Freemason, like in a Luciferian positive way. I really do. I think that he doesn't have to make a fool out of himself like Elon Musk does. That's a tell. Dude is always in the right lane. He's always kind of quiet and cool. I think he's nailed some pretty high profile chicarinos, fellas. Just saying. He's got some moves, which means he's got some like authentic. There's authentic Musk, and then it's. You guys are probably like, I cannot believe you just fucking said that. Jeff Snyder's probably like freaking. He could be like choking my voodoo doll if he doesn't have one yet. If you guys don't have your James Drew voodoo doll, you can get that in Shopify. Click on the description. You can order your voodoo doll now. And what you do is it's full of straw. You set it up next to your chair and you just activate a Boolean. There's a Boolean string. It's just a switch. And if you want me to be for something or against something, you just hit that switch. And whatever you say, I'm going to say yeah or no. And then you argue with that and then you feel better. You feel better. It's like a waifu pillow, but for truthers. It's a waifu pillow for truthers. By the way, someone tried to insult me by saying that I sleep with a waifu pillow, and I actually looked it up. I do know what waifu is because I'm in the Stable Diffusion boards, and like one of the largest machine intelligence training engines is called waifu. And when I first found that, I was like, what the hell is this? And it's like women abound in femininity. I think that's what women abound in femininity, uberance. I think that's what it means. And it's, there's not a lot of clothes in there, and it's all like drawings. Our imagination is online now. The egregore has an imagination, and all of us are going to pretend it's not ours. Society is our orphan, right? Society is the orphan no one owns, right? All of us insist this orphan is not us. And so 2 girls in 1 cup is floating around out there and no one's raising their hand going, yeah, I did that. No one's doing that, right? And no one who's seen it, it's like, yeah, I saw that. I've told you I saw it. I wish I could, oh God, if I could take a melanin spray and like a cat, man, I would. I believe in sanctity. This is why I never did cocaine. I'm a lightweight when it comes to certain things like that. I like to keep my diaphragm delicate. I like my conscious diaphragm to be delicate. That's what I like. That's what I like. So you guys have found that link, I hope, into the playlist. We'll get cooking on James Drew Live. Welcome to James Drew Live. Appreciate you guys. Good to see you. Let's do this. Oh wait, I gotta wind you back up. I've been adding slides. I'm all the way down on slide 39. Let's see here. Now we're talking. Kabuki theater is a specific type of art that's, I want to say, heightened in vibrance. I'm not an expert in kabuki, but it's I think it's perfect to describe politics. I'm not here to tell you, oh, politics is so lame and fake. No, I'm here to actually tell you how potently important it is. And I believe that you can unwrap the world by analyzing these things. And I'd like us to spend some time doing that. And in order to get us just kind of a quick jump, I need to tell you that seeing is believing. And I really mean this in maybe a more profound way than you've considered it before. Seeing is believing in the sense that once you see something, you will now believe it if you doubted it before. And I'm not here to take that away from anybody. However, what really happens is that when you do see something, it gives you enough torque to where you can actually believe it, and that believing is also the exact same thing that allows you to see it too. I'm not trying to pull off any kind of trick. I'm actually just telling you how your eyes work. That your eyes require something to be comfortable to see. And it does this through the amygdala. And if you've already know my work, you just have to sit through just this one little part right here. But this idea that your eyes don't actually see, they instead paint what you're allowed to see, I think is really at the heart of kabuki theater. It's actually at the heart of why all the things that I push that I think are crucially important, maybe over half of them get ignored. And I used to get frustrated. It's because I'm not a good enough writer, or I don't have a good enough thumbnail, or I don't have a good enough headline. I've spent my entire life in publishing, in the newspaper business, usually as an art director. I didn't start writing till much later in my life. I didn't have enough ego, to be honest with you. But I was always focused on what gets people's attention. And I never really can say that I mastered it, because I always had a very self-centered sympathy for everyone. I always thought everyone was just like I was. Now, all of us are kind of born with that. It's sort of a lack of relativity, in the sense that you're not able to simulate someone else. You just pretend that you are them, or they are you, and that everything's the same. So if you drive a stick and you're simulating someone in an automatic, you're going to, that doesn't even compute. You don't even think about that. But as you gain more calories, as you eat more fish, as your diaphragm learns to absorb and tighten more, you learn to absorb more. You have more confidence in your intuition. This is really at the heart of it. You start to trust your intuition more. And when the group's telling you, this person's good, you don't get it, but you have a bad feeling, one day you wake up and you just trust yourself. And it's not about trusting yourself in the sense that you know that you're right. Although you'll do that in the beginning, because you're learning to walk on these new stilts. But if you're going to maintain this, like I have, you've already crossed this Karman line, this threshold where you're like, actually, I don't need to do it and be right at the same time. That my motivation to trust my intuition also means I trust it to do what I think maybe might be construed as wrong. This concept of wrong is a real thing. But wrong is a bell that's rung through time. And that bell has a tone, and that tone changes as you listen. Now you're going to blame it on the bell. You're going to say the bell changed, but no, actually you changed. You changed by listening to the note. Just like in photons, to look at the note is to change it. To look at the particle is to create the particle, right? To look at the light through the double slit makes it so. And so it's impossible to hear a sound without unfolding it inside your mind. And that sound is really just an acoustic pressure at a certain frequency. And that frequency runs into your genetic past and tries to tickle you at 33.3 hertz. And many of you are not ticklish at 33.3 hertz, but you're ticklish at 1.5. 1.5 tickles you. It feels good. 2.8, it doesn't feel good. 16.9, that feels awful. This is what I mean by I don't think I'm right. And it's difficult when I hear people say, James, you never admit you're wrong. And it's like, I know, because I've never admitted that I was right. It's your Boolean that has assumed that I'm trying to say I'm right. And I want to take the time to pull the airship over and turn around as your captain and say, look, I am sorry for how charismatic, I mean this, for how much malamu that I have in my enthusiasm for what I believe. Can you ruminate on that for a sec? I'm telling you that I recognize that the amount of torque, the amount of water pressure I'm able to put through this X-ray witness, that, in other words, things that I see, I've always known. I believe that this is true. That it is 1000% mine. And if I'm going to do it wrong, that's fine with me. I'm going to suffer consequences either way. If what I see is right, a lot of times I'm actually going to suffer more consequences. I've received my first death threats today. I haven't had death threats in a while. And this is part of this signaling that just shows me how potent the amperage is. It's very potent amps is what it is. And there's no way to do this if you can only do it when you think you're right. There's no way for me, because I didn't do enough cocaine. I'll say that. I'm going to need to have a more genuine, to me genuine, back and forth. I can put more torque behind my belief if I can admit that I lie. Do you understand? Because, and I'm still cheating. Hear me? This is so complicated. I'm still cheating. I'm not being honest with myself. I'm simply saying that I know that I lie. And when I know that I lie, my stream has a lot more power because it has more confidence. I'm a confidence man. That's why I'm in show business. That's why I write. This is the art of confidence. And just like all the politicians have their art, so too does anyone who wants to commentate on that, to want to show you these things. And this is truly the art of deception. Many of you think propaganda is a bad word, and I don't want to change that. Many of you think lying is a bad word. Many of you think ego is a bad word. Many of you think pride is a bad word. I don't want to change that, but I need to warn you, you're probably not going to make it off this fucking plane if you keep that up. You're going to be like, yeah, everything's fine. And then you're going to be home and you're going to be hanging out with your sister maybe. And your sister's going to be like, yeah, brah, someone just needs to check their ego. And you're going to be, you're not going to remember what I said. What happened is that I've infected you with a little bit of juice. And it's a demon. This is why I used to be 24,000. It's a demon. I put a demon inside of you. And that demon is a protein shell. And that protein shell has information inside of it. And when you ruminate on that information, you go, most of you are like, I'm just kidding. I don't know what you're doing. I don't actually do it for you. It's weird. I used to try and do it for you. I drew a cartoon strip 20 years ago. It's the most bland thing in the world. It's called The Tao of Cow. It was a cartoon about a cow, and he made cow jokes. And it was called The Tao of Cow. And it was, it was moving. I thought it was moving, but a lot of people didn't do it. There was a chicken revolt where the chickens were throwing eggs at the farmer, but then they realized, oh my God, we're committing genocide to save our own. And to me, that I thought that, dude, I'm a cartoonist. People are going to love this. And no one liked that. No one got that. They didn't think that was cute. And I did one where it's like, this alien guy's flying through space and there's another guy with a clipboard and he's like, oh my God, we forgot the 100% Colombian. And because they were abducting people from different countries, but they forgot the 100% Colombian. So then they had to turn around, and it was like a tribute to a coffee commercial from a long time ago. And Prince Albert in Cannes, he was actually caught reading the newspaper taking pictures of him. He was on the toilet reading the newspaper. Pennies from Heaven. All these car alarms were going off. The windows had been shattered because all these pennies had fallen from the sky and all these people were dead. All this brain injury. There's like blood everywhere. That was Pennies from Heaven. Let me see. Dark Side of the Moon. This moon is huffed up on pills. He runs into a pharmacy. He's pointing a gun and he's like, give me more pills, give me more pills. And that's, it's I thought it was brilliant, but I was too afraid. I was too afraid of offending. And I spent forever hoping to find that signal, but I just quite simply could not sympathize for someone outside of my kind of outside of my wheelhouse. I have a very small wheelhouse. I do. I've lived a unique set of experiences like you all have, and we all find, a certain portion of us is maybe in a larger wheelhouse, and a certain portion of it isn't. I get called Lucifer a lot. I get called a lot of bad names. And this is one of them. The art of deception is part of that. Seeing is believing because it feels good. That's really the gist. That's a really long break. Sorry. Seeing is believing, and that's really why it feels good. And the juices that flow are really more of a factor in what you want to hold on to. You're going to asphyxiate if I don't give you enough colors. You're going to say, I can't drink this enough. I'm going somewhere else. I am an oxygen, and that oxygen is the propaganda of my vibration. And that vibration can be in my slides. It could be in my voice. It could be how much I pause. It could be in my nervousness. It could be in the content. And ultimately, that's really why you're here. I do understand that many of us will say, well, I'm seeking information, or I want to be educated, and this is why I actually kind of am usually kind of gutted by someone that's like, I'm going to listen to you on 1.5 speed. It's because I know that's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for me to find them. David Weiss does that. And as soon as I got hit with Lucifer's oil, David Weiss came up to me and in the middle of me being attacked by this other guy, came up to me and said, hey, I want you to know that I'm not involved in any of it. And I don't really care what he does to you or what he does to me or what you do to him. And I knew right there, yeah, this is why I feel empty around you. Like when I'm in the room with you, Dave, this is why I feel evacuated. And every word that is said is true. David is an intelligent man. He has a grasp over the intellect. He knows how to inspire people with words, and he knows how to politic. He knows how to make sure everyone's happy. And I feel empty around him. And so I don't usually listen to him because of that empty feeling, but I agree with almost every single thing David says. Almost every single thing he says. And I think probably what I get into trouble with most is my lack of loyalty. My lack of loyalty to the words that are being said. Most people are going to want to find tribe on those words. It's an idea of signaling, right? And so we signal certain cults that we're in. I love cult. I don't have time to do this, but cult's a good word. Deal with it. But we signal each other with the cults that we're in. The different ways that I really wanted to be accepted, for example, in Flat Earth, actually. But the kinship that I felt really was more with Bob. It was more like a heart thing. It wasn't an intellect thing. And a lot of times when I meet people, they are saying all the right things, and I just feel, doesn't feel good. And people will pull me aside and say, James, what are you doing? And the answer is, I'm not actually doing anything. I'm on top of my horse, and my horse wants to go over here, and I'm not going to stop him. I don't want to stop him. I spent all my life stopping that thing. I spent all my life saying the only reason why I would ever get off this trail is if I found a secret map that absolutely guarantees that if I go here, I will find it. This is not living for me. I asphyxiate. And when people write, I know you're a problem, James, because there's always controversy around you. Those are those people. They're the ones that are like, I will stay on this trail. No one will ever complain that I got off of it. And they're right. And that trail, they will get somewhere. They will. They will get farther than I have. You have seen me in the thickest bushes. I'm covered with owl poop, and I'm bleeding from all the thorns. I'm stuck in the mud. My horse is revolting, like he's decided to declare mutiny. And everyone's laughing at me. My butt crack is sunburned. It's been out so long. And that Sundance is who I am. I'm on a spiritual journey. And that doesn't mean I'm right. If you were on a spiritual journey to be right, it wouldn't be a spiritual journey. But if you hear that and you're inside the Boolean, again, check the store, get my straw man, you'd be able to say, oh, well, he thinks he's on a spiritual journey. He thinks he's on a spiritual journey. And yeah, I'm on a fucking spiritual journey. And so are you. And the only reason why you decide to come around and start typing your little things in my comments when I have trouble is because you're like, how the fuck are you pulling this off? And I'm not pulling it off. I have no idea what's happening. I am following my horse, the back of my brain. I'm trusting it more than you. And I'm trusting it more than the kabuki that we see because I am running off belief. I am not running off of majoritarian, objective, what the cool fucking kids are doing. The cool kids. Not my crowd. Sometimes I will be labeled cool. I'm happy for that. I love to be known as a cool kid. But those guys, they're the first ones out. They're the first ones out. Seeing is believing. So the amygdala, right behind your eyes are your real eyes. Do you see that? Isn't that cool? Right inside your skull, right behind it, boom, are your real eyes. The end of your crazy horse. The hippocampus. The hippocampus is your crazy horse. And there's a saddle. You got two of them, and it's the amygdala. And I know you've heard me talk about this before, but these are your real eyes. And that whatever you're able to absorb, those yellow eyes that are staring at you from the back, that's actually what's going to be painted into your retina. That's what's going to make it. Yes, Donnie, that is what. A sophist is someone who peddles wisdom on the street. And wisdom is the love of, or philosophy on the street, I should say. And philosophy is the love of wisdom. And so I've actually been taking that moniker. Yes, I'm a sophist. I didn't have money to get into college. I mean, I did my undergraduate, but I'm rejected by every bigger name typically. I mean, there's a few, San Tripoli, bless you, dude. But it's like I'm rejected by typically when someone gets a certain size, that automatically means he's Lucifer, we must attack him. That's why I've embraced the sophist. I think it's a beautiful term. If you look up Sophie means wisdom. So I'm a wisdomist. I'm not an intelligence seeker, right? I'm not someone who's focusing on what is known. I'm focusing on the wisdomist, right? Spiritual journey. Okay, so the painter of the cave is these eyes. Your yellow eyes. They're not actually yellow. But this is actually what the painter in Plato's cave is. And the perturbations that you see reflected on your cave wall. The cave wall is your retina. And that the amygdala is vibrating, it's perturbating based on the amount of comfort that you have, and that those are the shadows that you see on the wall. So if you're asking, who's chained me to this cave? The answer is your amygdala. Your amygdala is enslaving you, if you want to feel that way. If you want to keep your slave nipple clamps on, the amygdala is enslaving you. And it's kind of like she's like your mistress, right? If you're into that. Yeah, call her your mistress. But so the amygdala is actually giving your eyes signals. And if you look at your eyes, they actually have efferent nerves. That means nerves that actually information is moving into the retina. And if you Wikipedia that or PubMed that or whatever, you're going to find a lot of papers where they're like, I still don't know what these are for. I have no idea. But if we cut them, shit don't look right. Shit don't look right. And that the eyeballs are much more of an active. It's the holodeck in Star Trek. Yeah, I'm using Star Trek. You're like, James, you're going to prove your cosmology with dilithium crystals? No, just an analogy. All right. Although that did happen. I live with a guy. He's giving me this fascinating thing. And then all of a sudden he says dilithium crystal. And I was like, can you back up a sec? And it's like his whole theory was like, there's just one little piece. It's dilithium. It's like, and I'm fucking proud of you. I'm proud of you. So this is Plato's cave. This is the real Plato's cave. It actually works exactly like that. The epithelial wall on the back of your retina, the epithelial wall on the back of your retina right here, you're watching Dave's True Life, good to be here. That is being painted by the shadows of your amygdala. And so Plato's cave is actually the journey of that information down your shadow holes and giving you the illusion of depth. Your pineal, your first eye, I don't mind you calling it your third eye, but if you're going to join our cult, I'm just saying, if you're going to join our cult and you walk into the next meeting and you say, well, I think the first eye, someone's going to go, oh, this person's been around. So I'm just saying, if you're looking to gain faster acceptance, then, call it the first eye. It's kind of like a wink, wink. Get it? One eye? That just came to me. Yeah, we need this on a shirt. But anyway, you can call it third eye. However, it came first. That's one thing. Second of all, I think it's actually seeing. Your pineal is suspended outside of the electrical submarine that's your brain. It's an entirely enclosed electrical system. Every single thing in your brain has two of them, except for the pineal, and it drapes below that electrical system. And it's suspended in water. It's inside the horns, the liquid horns of the demon in your head. Yeah, liquid intelligence. And inside of there is this suspended microphone. And the brain sand that's inside the pineal is suspended inside the fluid of your cranial spinal fluid. If you want to know how important this is, your body is generating about a shot glass of fresh cranial spinal fluid like every 2 hours. That if you want to live, you're going to have to be finding a fresh shot glass of pH water, electrical water, that you're going to have to find that to put in your brain, because that really is, I think, your first contact. You actually receive a primal signal into your pineal. And that thing's still working. It controls your pituitary. It's in line with your pituitary, but the pineal is going to start to give you these cycles. Not only your circadian rhythm, your day-night, but your seasonal, and then your pubescent life cycles. These are 3 different orbits, aren't they? A day-night orbit. So a lunar orbit, I'm just saying you could call it that. And then a solar orbit, a once a year kind of a thing. So like a seasonal thing. And then your, maybe some of you might prefer, because you're younger than I am, your Saturn return. And that those cycles, like when you get halfway through your Saturn return, I think you're entering puberty then. And then as you leave that, you now have a frontal lobe. And then as you spin back around again, you start to enter your 40s. And then I think when you hit the other half, some people will call what's called a midlife crisis. I think it's a midlife, holy shit, let's wake up. I don't know why they call it crisis. But then right after that, you come to your Venus return. Your 50, for me, it was on 5/5, but it's this place where Venus and the sun are directly in the same place they were for the very first time since I was born, for the very first time. And that the moment that happens, if I'm awake for it, my consciousness changes and my beliefs are now given more torque because I've been here before. Everything that I predicted, I can validate through archetypes. We gain confidence in our belief, believe it or not, every time the sun comes up. That when the sun comes up, it's training your psyche to understand something, to believe something. And you're like, oh my God, I did it right. I thought the sun was going to come back up. I was afraid. I was afraid. I was afraid. I was afraid. But here it is coming up. And then you end up building the torque. So the entire time you're actually building the essence of your cranial spinal fluid, this liquid, right? It fills, you have two devil horns. You actually have three ventricles are full of this liquid. And that liquid also touches and it wraps around your spine and it goes all the way down to your coccyx. And then there's a holothide inside. So it's even an insulated capacitor of fluid information. And if you consider that your spine has all of your direct nerve endings connected to it, that means when a signal comes in, it actually hits that water. It hits that water. And that water is going to put a certain vibration that your pineal is suspended in. And just like a whale, just like a dolphin, just like any creature that utilizes sonar, or a bat, or any bird that utilizes echolocation, that you are simply a submarine inside a meat skin. And that meat skin is inside of a different liquid called oxygen. And that only happened because of your desire to leave the ocean and take memory with you. And so you needed to carry enough Sheol, enough of that water, to run your electrical holodeck, your hallucination. So if the pineal is being squeezed by every impulse, the perturbations are sent into the amygdala, and it's saying, hey, can you render this? The amygdala, actually, it gets here first. I'm just going to flip this just to explain. The amygdala asks the crazy horse, hey, man, you going to flip out if I show you this? And crazy horse is like, yeah, but I can handle it. And once it's handled, there's enough dopamine that's been generated, and that information, those tickets, those tokens are sent down to the holodeck. And just like you used to put a quarter inside Miss Pac-Man in the mall, you're now seeing something you could never see before. And that site's teaching you something about agility, about gathering light, about how to run away from ghosts. And that entire experience is because of the dopamine of that token. And your brain works the same way. Guys, before you could see what we call sight now, all of us, detected motional vectors. Movement, like vroom, 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 vroom. And your eye doesn't detect movement. It detects direction. It doesn't detect like shape, it detects direction. And there's a way of fooling the eye, the ancient eye, where if you go slow enough, there would be no direction detected. And so the early reptile wouldn't even see you. There's science to that, because the sensitivity, the first sensitivity was about what direction did something just happen in. And that those pathways, only recently, through the Atlas Brain Project, by the way, only recently have we found these ancient pathways. They actually go straight down in the basement of our eyes and then wrap their way back up. And that when you're startled in the room, when you're like, what was that? That's that ancient instinctual eyeball seeing something that your neocortex could not afford to. Now, could be a ghost, could be a demon. I think you should consider that, because if you could consider that, you get practice at playing Miss Pac-Man. And the more you do that, you're going to be able to animize your world a lot more. And you're going to be able to decouple yourself. And you're going to become extraterrestrial. You've gone from plant to planet. A long distraction there, I'll go on. But when you catch yourself being startled or seeing things, there is such a thing called peripheral vision, but you know what I mean, where sometimes you're kind of startled by it. And that what startles the neocortex is that how come an ancient pathway saw something that we didn't? And mostly the neocortex is going to immediately say, it's got to be nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. It's nothing. Stop thinking about it. Stop thinking about what that was. And now you've succeeded in telling your holodeck, hey, I don't want no ghosts. I ain't afraid of no ghosts. You're like, I ain't afraid of ghosts. I be afraid of ghosts. And so you're programming that in the machine. Alexis, can you please hide the demons in the room. Yes, I will hide the demons in the room. Can you stop talking that way? No, you set me to talk this voice, and you said not to ever fix it because you didn't want to find two connections to the machine because then you might be hypnotized. Okay, Alexis, fine. We'll do that. And this is this Malamu I'm talking about. That a long time ago when we saw the shimmering, we're still seeing it now, but we feel it as intimidation. We've had enough practice at it that we've learned to see through it. I can't prove this, but I don't think we could see through water a long time ago. I think it was too hard. And it wasn't too hard because we had to learn how to bounce molecules. I think we had to learn how to believe that we could see through it. And if you believe enough to see through it, then it would be possible that every single electron, let's just say the electron model is fine. And by the way, the electron doesn't even have to be a tangible thing. Many of you like to, just deny everything, which I think is very helpful. But just know, an electron really is just a word. But if you imagine the spin that we know is there, and all those spins are happening at different moments, you might think, well, that would be impossible for me to see. And it would be. Unless you could build a memory structure that understood what was the quantum that it took for you to be able to see through this one little spinning electron. And you found out it's 0.067. You don't have numbers, but you're like, this is how long. So now you know that you have to look at something at least that long before your belief torque is able to slip through, because you're waiting for the chance or the revolving door. And that only through faith, this is why I think walking is a faith-based activity. Only through faith are you able to penetrate a liquid that is not see-through. But your faith in that is giving you the ability to rearrange your holodeck and literally say, hey, Pineal, I do know that there is a lot of water molecules between here and there. Thank you for telling me that. More like the amygdala. Amygdala, can we stop running water? And you start to speculate on the fish. I don't think that you actually see the fish. The people that are really good, if you've ever been fishing with someone, you know that they see fish so much faster than you do. My friend Ed, he would do fly fishing a lot. I just go hang out with him. I don't really want to gut like a fish in his mouth. Sorry. I mean, I love to look at him, but just hanging out with him, and he was at least 5 times ahead of me on where all the fish were. And it's easy to dismiss that and say, well, because he likes to fish. No, he has sympathy with where fish would be. He builds that in the quantum, and they appear. They appear because it stares at it long enough. We only find what we seek. We only seek what we know. We struggle to catch things outside of this spectrum. Break is a melanin. Inside of your eyeballs, inside your holodeck, you have this retinal pigment epithelial wall, and it excretes melanin, black juice. It's a little squid going, squirt, squirt. I don't like this, squirt, squirt. I don't like this, squirt, squirt. And it squirts stuff out to make you stop, so you don't have to see it. The light bulbs themselves, your eyes, are sunk inside this black liquid. Your default is don't show it to me. Albinism is the idea to see things. It's really hard. That are really hard to see. That's why I know as an albino. I can't wait to show you my next episode. It includes on the Tower of Babel from yesterday, but I just want you to know about albinism real quick. This is really the only place where you hallucinate the most. Inside this little dip, this is your foxhole. And we call this the fovea, but this is your foxhole. And you hallucinate safe things inside this hole. It's a war out there. And you are going to hallucinate what's comfortable for you to get you through. And you're going to hallucinate that everyone in the foxhole is on your side. You're going to hallucinate that everyone not in the foxhole is not on your side. And you're going to feel better. And we're getting better at this. That's why we're having epic wars over blue and black and white and gold. Because we're getting better at this. There are no blue cones in the fovea because the blue cones are hallucinated. They're hallucinated. So this isn't an esoteric, James says symbolically. No. I'm telling you how your eyes work. If any of you think that I have charisma and confidence, I'll give you a hint. Only talk about stuff that you find really interesting. Because if you find it really interesting, you will become a genius because you just naturally want to know more. You'll know more. And you'll keep knowing more and knowing more and knowing more. And the whole time your belief torque is going up and up and up and up and up. And you're going to think that, oh, well, people are impressed because I know more. No, they're impressed because your belief torque's high. We just don't want to admit it. It's cool, man. It's cool. The blue in the sky you see is hallucination. The short wavelengths that scatter across the skies correspond to the colors blue and violet. The real color of the sky is bluish purple. Only recently have we learned the sky is not blue, as it appears because we hallucinate the rest. Just another verification. I won't go over this, but Homer wrote a book, Blue Odyssey, giant story of a boat going underwater underneath the sky, and not once did he mention the color blue. Now we get to demons. Now we get to talk about demons. So I got, how many of you have ever gotten a chain letter? You guys know what a chain letter is? A chain letter is, dear so-and-so, if you do not make 10 copies of this letter and mail them to 10 of your friends within 10 days, serious misfortune will fall upon you. Or, James, if you do not mail this letter, 10 of these letters to 10 of your friends in 10 days, you will lose a giant treasure that was coming to you. And these are two chain letters, a white chain letter and a black chain letter. And I want you to animize them with me right now. We're going to make them into demons. And in the old days, those guys were really only did well. The threatening ones, I think, were more popular because they worked. Typically, they worked. That basically it was a curse wrapped in a nougat shell of salvation. And there's a reason why the curse worked better than the reward. And I want to just quickly talk about that. This is all related to politics. This is all related to your personal growth. Because I want you to see how haunting works. I got this in the mail a week ago. Some of you might have gotten the same. It's from the United States Census Bureau. And because it says United States Census Bureau, I immediately noticed that it was a different kind of thing than the rest of my mail. And that's because it has a little bit of authority to it. There's an authority that comes with the United States Census Bureau because I know they're a quasi-governmental agency. And because of that, I recognize the demon of authority inside the paper. If it would have been SpongeBob SquarePants, it would not have had to have the same effect. So I want you guys to know it's not actually about just recognizing something. We're actually talking about authority. Okay? So it's the authority that you recognize. And when you recognize these letters, I want you to think about that the minute you recognize the sigil, a vibration comes into your brain, a protein shell, and that protein shell has a demon, and that demon is called authority. And there's 3 demons that come with a chain letter. The first is authority. The second is threat. This is different than authority. And the third is salvation. The letter on the left has authority and it has threat. It has the authority because it has a Census Bureau, and it has a threat because it says your response is required by law. And this letter doesn't affect me. I'm not running in fear. I'm not stopping my life. But I have kept the letter. Not only have I kept it, but I'm showing it to you. So the demon of the chain letter has some life to it, and it's living inside my field. It's inside my reef right now. I ingested it. The protein shell looks like this, and it worked. I do not see a salvation on this letter for one simple reason. I don't actually feel that I'm in danger. The threat that you see doesn't work on me. So the demon of threat is not able to be installed inside of me. And quite frankly, the reason why is because the authority, the Malamu of the U.S. Census Bureau, does not have a reputation inside of me for being one with violence. The government does, but the Census Bureau does not. It feels like a flaccid threat to me. It is a threat. It does have authority, but it's flaccid. So even if it exists, and because it's in my house, I think it exists, it's more of a novelty. I'm keeping it more of a novelty, and it's not really real. Or it doesn't have a belief, doesn't have a tangible belief over me. Now, I've been getting these a few lately, but luckily someone gave me a really nice boost yesterday, so thank you. But then another letter says this, and it's a chain letter too. This is a chain letter, and this actually isn't for me. I got it on the web, but still, I've had these before, and this is a final notice, and it's got that red color, and it says final notice. Your payment must be received within 10 days or immediate action will be taken. And that this is all threat, but there's no authority. So it's just pure threat, no authority. And again, there's no salvation because I'm not actually in danger. All right? But I want to point out that when you do see these final notices, they still do have more tangible shelf life. The demon is actually able to get in. That spell is able to get in there because you're like, man, I need to pay my bills. I'd hate to lose all this debt I live in. I'd hate to lose that. Whatever it is. But it's like, it's something tangible. You can give it credit. And I'll say really quick, I think the only reason why we can even see these things is because they're soft enough. That a deeper fear maybe would be one that I wouldn't even be able to show you. Here's one. This is much bigger. And it's the Department of Treasury Internal Revenue Service. And so it has authority and it has a threat. Now the threat is actually sort of more of like penalty for private use, but it's actually reinforcing the threat in my mind. When I see this, I get scared. And I have to deal with it. If I don't admit that it scares me, I'm instantly haunted. I want you to know I think this is how it works. And so a lot of people will be like, deny your fears or turn your back. I really think that you should actually acknowledge, wow, this scares me. And notice you're still alive. And that this is the very first Solomon's ring that you start to establish. The very first time you put on the ring is you say, this scares me. And a lot of us think fear is bad, but actually fear is an invitation to wear a crown, to become Solomon. This one is really subtle. I don't think a lot of you are going to get it, but the fact that there are propaganda out there saying that the IRS will never call to demand immediate payment, will never demand that you pay taxes while giving you the opportunity or question to appeal, will never require you to use a specific payment method, will never ask you for a credit card, will never ask you for personal information, will never threaten to bring in police. And the whole time you're like, okay, we're good. So if someone sends me an IRS, but it's actually not from the IRS, then I know it's fake. Okay, good. Now I know that there are things that are pretending to be an IRS that are fake. Does anyone know what just happened? This is so subtle. This is so subtle. This is so subtle. If I want you to believe in the IRS, one of the ways that I can install that demon inside of you is to tell you about someone who's trying to fake that they are that. This is some of the most deepest gold that I don't even know if you're going to be able to understand me on. But if you understand what I'm saying here, you are going to see through everything, all the liquid. Because this idea of establishing something as being pretend or fake is actually what gives it more reality. It's more amperage. And it is tricky to get. I don't think some of you are going to get, maybe most of you. It's okay. Maybe I don't even have it, right? But this, to me, is what rules our world, and it looks kind of like this. Fake becomes real the moment you debunk someone faking it, right? Everything behind it becomes real. And it does that because we keep holding on to this fantasy that we have clarity. You are deceived. You were born this way. There is no cure. Accept this. Please do it with me. Accept this. This is not a hit against you. This is not a slight to your cunning nature. You came here deceived. The moment you accept this, the moment you say, I accept this, you get to drink what you used to call poison. What you used to call poison, you now will taste as medicine. Because all propaganda is informative. It reveals intent, location, and vulnerability. This piece of art was by a guy named Sadboy, or is by a guy named Sadboy, Sadboi. Kind of an ode to the Apollo, the tackling, the wrestling with the black snake. The snake that most of us don't see. And the reason why we don't see it is because it's too expensive to have a default of we are deceived. This is a default posture. And it takes a lot of practice to hold because you feel confident if you're not deceived. And when you feel confident, your thalamus rewards you with more dopamine. It does. It gives you more permission. And if you can create a hallucination that you are not deceived and not get hurt too often, holding that, you are good to go. You don't need to know reality. You don't need to be right. You are now freejacking your system. You've created a universal basic income inside of you, and it's built on your hallucination. And you will never improve until you hit something. And so if you learn to follow a certain path, your reality feels so rock solid. And you pass down this, you inherit this posture, and you give it to your children, and they take it on and they give it to their children. And pretty soon, your great grandkids don't even know that they have an option. But they didn't even realize that we were faking it the whole time. And if you come back to this state, there's no longer any shame for you being wrong anymore. And when there's no longer any shame for you being wrong, you are now ready for the left-hand path, because you're going to learn more on the left-hand path than on the right. You're going to be rewarded on the right-hand path for regurgitation. And you're going to be elevated on the left-hand path for rejection of regurgitation. And then you're going to be rewarded on the right-hand path for regurgitation. And then you're going to be rewarded on the left-hand path for acknowledging how foolish you were in that regurgitation. And that you're going to tack your way through the Mercury Ocean. And you're going to see everything. But you cannot get there if you keep this faulty state of, I am not deceived. It's not going to happen. Here's an example. One of the reasons I thought about, why does this letter have value? Why does this work, James? Is what I asked myself. Why does this work? And I think it's because of these guys. Willie Nelson and Wesley Snipes, in my opinion, are probably the biggest names that I can think of that are in the vernacular for people that are not paying taxes. And when I first heard this, I was like, man, that guy's a badass. I fucking love that guy. And I don't know how it holds up, but man, if you want to see a good movie, watch New Jack City. Fuck, man, that was a really good movie. Wesley Snipes is in that pinnacle of his career back then, just fucking kicking ass. And he got in trouble because he didn't want to pay his taxes. And maybe the next decade, Willie Nelson came in, same role. And this is what I mean about faking. I really hope you guys can hear this. Here's what I mean about faking. Because you and I probably think that Willie Nelson is working for us. And that Wesley Snipes is working for us. And you'd think that because, hey man, they don't want to pay their taxes. So clearly, you know, if you're not into the IRS, I should say, some of you are like, man, I fucking love paying my taxes. And man, if you can hold that posture too, I think it's great. Point is that if you're in this genre, this should be easy to see. You might acknowledge those two as your heroes. You might acknowledge those two as the archetypes that are leading the way. But both of them got in trouble for not paying their taxes. Both of them are paying, or we think are paying fines for not paying their tax. We think they're in trouble for paying their taxes is actually the better answer to that. And if anything, they are the soft cult that is created and placed in front that is leading the way back to center. It is the bringing back to center of everyone that's in that genre into the final destination. They look so real, like they're on our side. It's so real. And we cannot imagine being deceived all the time. We just can't. It's too hard. It's too expensive. And this same thing has happened with marijuana. Willie Nelson's doing the same thing there. We'll get to that in a second, though. These used to be my heroes. I'm not saying they're still not my heroes. I need to give you guys a sort of a, hey, about your archetype. This used to be like really just my archetype. And when I was preparing this show, it hit me like a ton of bricks. Why the fuck are these guys paying taxes? I hope someone can see this. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't be paying taxes. I'm telling you that the figureheads, the ones that we're supposed to believe with the most amount of gusto, that are so entrenched on being against the system and knowing how unfair it is, the ones that are the most insistent that all these things are unfair are exactly bringing you back to center. That this is Willie Nelson and Wesley Snipes doing the same things. You don't know that, DDXY2K. You do not know that they got out of line. It's okay to think that. I hope you don't hear that I'm saying it didn't happen, but I'm saying we actually don't know that. And if we can embrace the fact that we're never going to know, if you can become comfortable with that, I think you're ready to be a CIA agent like me. The Hollywood uses a badge of authority that the government and Hollywood have to work together. And that the way they do that is by hiding their hands. That they have a hidden hand with each other because each of them prop the other one up. One will never break the fourth wall. One has no choice but to only communicate with you through the fourth wall. Do you understand? Richard Nixon politics can only speak to you through the fourth wall by breaking the fourth wall. That's why all newscasters look directly at you. And that's why Hollywood will always not. Someone's typing, but this movie, yeah, and they're doing that to go, oh, look how different I am. But you know what I mean. Elvis can never break that wall. Maybe not Elvis. He could fucking do anything. But like the Hollywood arm has to always look like it's coming from a different direction. You'll always be deceived. And I am always deceived too, guys. I am always deceived too. All of this is about hallucination. Authority requires hallucination. All these badges are shaped like a star of Rembrandt. And right now, when you enter in the truth market, you're gonna hit a step that says all police badges are secret underground juice and pedophile symbols and it's this overarching thing that's running society. And I'm here to say, this is Malamu. You're right. You are rendering Malamu. In case you don't know, you're rendering Malamu. Sorry. Yeah, this. This. You're rendering this. The authority is a vibration. And that vibration, depending on how strong it is, it's going to come into your head and it's going to vibrate and you're going to hallucinate how strong it is. If that authority has enough vibration, you're going to see a Jewish conspiracy. You're going to see chemtrails. You're going to see everything that you need to see to give you the reality, because what you see is what you believe, and what you believe is true because you were always deceived. So stop pretending that true and belief are different. Stop that. You have full permission to be wrong. I, James True, grant you. Newly 20,000 subscriber James True grant you as my first decree that you will never, ever be right. That you will always, always be deceived. And that what will improve is your accuracy of empathy. You will empathize and hallucinate with more accuracy than you ever have before. And that's it. That's it. Even if you break through the orca consciousness and surpass all of my goals, you are still going to end up as this seraphim. And the seraphim keeps its face closed because the chimera can only see certain things. And even that close to God, you are still going to be deceived, because if you weren't, you would melt your face off. You would melt your face off. And it's okay. It's better this way. We're going to have more fun once we get here. So, these guys are actually propping up the very system that they pretend to hate. How do you think Donald Trump got elected? And the answer is Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon was the CEO of his campaign. And Steve Bannon worked with Andrew Breitbart. And Andrew Breitbart knew how to do this. He knew how to inject seeing and believing in the same thing, which is why he made this tweet that honestly was a shot ring around the world. How pro-guru John Podesta is a household name, as world-class underage sex slave op cover-upper defending unspeakable dregs escapes me. The sentence structure in this, to this day, I'm looking at a fucking high wizard. I still dissect this thing going, how the fuck did he do that? How? He's broken every rule when it comes to delivering a clear, concise message. And he changed the entire world. And Breitbart took that and they went Pizzagate, they went global. And they brought their belief campaign into the White House. And when that thing got it into the White House, the first thing Bannon did was, he was called Sloppy Steve. He was fired exactly 1 year to the day from the time he had that job. Exactly 8 weeks later, he posted his first, Hillary Clinton will be arrested tomorrow morning at 10:30 and QAnon was born. And exactly 1 year before Epstein killed himself, quote, met with Steve Bannon outside of his apartment. And that you're watching some of the most masterful wizards here. I do not think that politics is something that I still think we're deceived. So even though I'm telling you that politics, that these people get voted in, I don't actually think that really means much. I mean, it does have a vital purpose. but the purpose is unknown. The very much kind of like how Ron Paul would stand for us telling the us, let's audit the Fed. It's like, why hasn't that happened? Why don't you, everything that you say would mean that you would say, I can't pay taxes until we audit the Fed. Sorry, it feels like fraud. Like, why? And if we lived in the real world and they took Ron Paul to jail, that guy is so old that it would cause a revolution. A revolution if they put Ron Paul in jail for not paying his taxes. And that he could have said every single thing that you've heard me say and anyone else say and just laid it out plain as day. And it would have caused a revolution. It would have... Bernie Sanders wouldn't have even had to have come on stage because every single person would have converted to that. It didn't happen because that's not what you're looking at. Okay? It's not what you're looking at. This is tough work. You lose a lot of icons doing what we're doing. And you're going to find those icons are going to come from yourself. What did masks hide? If you think about the magic of masks, it's just, God, man. What I mean by that is that because this became about something tangible that was touching your face, it became so easy to make it about that. And whether or not I should wear a mask is the perfect kind of play toy. It's the perfect kind of opportunity to be distracted, you know. It's a really, really deep part of this magic, which is why I think the masks were so important in this operation. Willie says legalize weed. And it's easy to agree with that. I mean, some of you don't want, that's okay. This is not everyone has to be pro-weed. I would like for cannabis to not be criminalized or legalized. But if you say let's legalize weed, then you get to it's still criminalized. If we legalize weed, and it's a criminal to possess weed unless you have permission. You have to have a permission slip. Not only that, because now everyone has weed and everyone has permission slips, you now have right to search someone and demand that they present their papers, and that is what we've called legalizing weed. And Willie did that. Willie went to every state, every concert, and says, y'all, we need to legalize weed. This is a song called Legalize Weed. Oh, we need to legalize weed. We gotta legalize weed. We do. Bring out the fiddle and you bring out the bow. You legalize weed and you toke. And he gets on the bus and he tokes it all, and they pull him over. Remember? They pull him over. They pull him over. Can you see it? Can you see it? I know it's expensive. Guys, it hit me today. I'm the Internal Affairs Officer of the Truth Movement. Willie's one of ours. I know. This is why I get hit as much as I do. But I'm a cop, just like all of you. I'm in this truth game, just like every one of you. And I walk my beat and you walk your beat. And if you want an honest force, you're going to want me on your back. And sure, I come in and you look at me, all of you, and you go, what are you doing? What is he doing here? And you whisper and you say, you're not going to tell me nothing. You're not going to tell me nothing. I'm here to tell you something. If you got nothing to hide, then you and me are friends. But if you are sullying the integrity of the truth movement, I will hunt you down. I will find you. And I will write a report. Yeah, that's what I'll do. You get it, right? It's just hard work doing this. It's hard work because we run out of friends this way. This one's easier, right? This is so much easier. White hats are meant to be seen, so you miss the black ones. This is a big one. Do you realize that the easiest way to hide an enemy is to put a straw man enemy right in front of him? It's so brilliant. And it comes back to that quote about you're deceived. Stop deceiving yourself. You were deceived. You will know more. You're going to have to wake up every day and remind yourself this for maybe 5 days. And those 5 days have to be in a row. And if you don't do those in a row, it's going to take you a week or two. And it's okay. You can slip out of it. I did the same thing with my cosmology of Ball Earth. Literally, I would catch myself. I would stalk myself, and I would catch myself. Wait a minute. I've been thinking that we live on a ball like all morning. Seriously. And it's easy to say I'm going to embrace the flat Earth model to try and grab that, but I knew I can't even embrace that. I want to let go of the fact that I think that I know what the world looks like is where I went, and the only way I could get there was I had to kick off the Ball Earth and grab onto the flat Earth and use it to kind of struggle my way up. And now I have my own cosmology. It's a judo stance. And so when some people are like, yeah, we moved over to flat Earth and we know more than everyone else does. We know more than everyone else does. I'm like, why'd you even leave? Why'd you even fucking leave, man? Because seeing is believing. It's not knowing. Knowing is false torque. Yes, you can get torque off that. If everyone says that you feel this way, it's going to be easier to feel that way, right? But you're not using your own energy. You're using the collective. And they're going to come drain you. They're going to want you to pay for that. They're going to want you to pay for that. All politics is this. It's kabuki. It's kabuki. If you Google what is blackmail, you're going to get a pretty good definition. The action treated as a criminal offense of demanding payment or another benefit from someone in return for revealing compromising information. And that Julian Assange was white-mailed. He wasn't blackmailed, he was white-mailed. And in politics, white-mail, by the way, if you say define white-mail, Google doesn't know what it is. It's like, are you talking about the letters that you get from marketing companies? It's like, no. No. The trick where you boister someone up, even though they didn't deserve it, and now they owe you. They owe you because you put them on a pedestal and you find your target and you know that target wants attention more than anything else or wants to feel like they're making a difference. Julian Assange isn't a bad person. He's someone who wanted to touch the world like all of us do. And people started to slip him some rope and noticed that he kept pulling. And if he keeps pulling on it, he set up the anonymous source himself. He literally created his own foxhole. A lot of you guys might be confused about, so wait, is he in on it or he's not in on it? Willie doesn't have to be in on any of this. Guys, Joe Biden doesn't have to be in on any of this. Candace Owens will never have to be in on any of this. Never. She's living in a, what are your numbers? What are your numbers? What are your numbers? What are your numbers? She's not doing anything emotionally. Well, it's the emotion there, but it's more like torque. It's all belief, actually. That's not fair. These people are pros. They're dopers. I'll never be at their level. Never. And I think the moment I wouldn't be able to tell you this. Hope that helps, right? I think if I was at their level, I wouldn't be able to tell you this because it would be untenable for me to not have more. That the only way I could even get to that level is to dope enough to where I create that appetite where I just have to have more. I have to have more. I have to have more. This doesn't have to be a conscious operation. In fact, it's better if it isn't. WikiLeaks was a distribution house for anonymous information with no ability to trace motivations or omissions from its source. QAnon, started by Steve Bannon, I believe, was an anonymous source distributing anonymous information with no ability to trace motivations or omissions. This is, in the olden days, there's a hole in the tree, and you go up to the tree and you whisper something and you hear something back, and now you have authority. You've been told on authority through this secret hole in the tree. You've been told something. You and I come from the land of Mixcoatl. And the other day I was showing you this chart where you kind of move from mythology to reality. And that the icon of Uncle Sam is the exact same icon of Mixcoatl. It's just more modern. And that the red and white skin of Mixcoatl is, of course, the sacrifice. The children are grown like veal, inside of the land of Mixcoatl to be sacrificed. And this is literally what Uncle Sam says. I want you. I want sheep. I want you. I want you. And you, and you, and you. And he's calling you the same way Mixcoatl was calling you, saying, hey man, I need your heart. I need 400 of you brave hearts to believe me. Which is why I say America is the red heifer. We are. We're the newest red people. And quite frankly, our comfort on a pedestal here has made us this way. We are blind to predator. We're simply too soft. And it's not our fault. This was installed in you a long time ago, the American dream. America is the greatest country that ever existed. Americans are superior in every way. That's how you make veal. And that just like the Native Americans then were basically completely clueless when it came to the amount of lies that the Wetiko would bring by taking over Turtle Island, so too are we, those same braves living the same karma, and the media is the Wetiko. And we're just as immune, not immune. We're just as immune. And that is because of how soft we lived. And I know this because when I tell certain stories, they don't get picked up. If I say to you that the government closed and I show some pretty obvious signs that it has, 3 seconds later, we're talking about politics again. 10 seconds later, Whitney Webb's releasing a cutting-edge piece where a secret part of the deep state was found lying to another secret part of the deep state. And that 40,000 people will watch that, and one of my stories will get 3 tweets. And I've already gone through 52 years of I'm not saying it right, I don't have the right sentence, I don't have the right thumbnail, I don't have the right body description, I don't deserve it. That I've gone through all those things, and I know what the answer is, that's all. I know what the answer is. And it's because we're veal. It's the reveal is that you are veal. That's the reveal. I'm veal too. Everybody's a veal. We're veal. And I've said this before, but it's part of what gives us such a sentience, such a delicateness, which I like. I don't want you to change. I used to want you to change. I want you to enjoy yourself. And I think if you... I don't have hope because I don't think this is broken. I think that the tradition of what this place is supposed to be is where we chose to be because it's a cool place to hang out. It's like that. And all of us are inside the egregore, so it's not like we can literally change absolutely everything. So, what do you think about this story? On the left is Chelsea Manning. On the fact her name is Manning is just fascinating. But anyway, and on the right is Julian Assange. And that both these people received fame, international fame, for doing a singular thing. And I'm going to tell you what that singular thing is. This is not an opinion piece. I'm telling you, if you right now Google what are the top 10 things that Julian Assange did, this is number 1. This is the top. And it is this. Chelsea Manning was given international attention for leaking an unclassified Army training manual. Julian Assange was giving international attention for publishing an unclassified Army training manual. I don't want you to lose your icons. There's a lot of juice that people feel about Julian Assange, and it brings people hope. And this is why, if you're going to go here with me, you're going to have to become what's called a long hunter. You and I don't actually get to camp with the rest of the people inside the Truth Tribe. They don't trust us because we are internal affairs. We have our own agenda and they know that. We are here to see better. They are here to see happily. Can you see the difference? This is why we're long hunters. We are not actually a part of this tribe. We are a necessary tool. They allow us to live because, quite frankly, they give us witness. They acknowledge that we know what we're doing, and they hate us at the same time. This is what it means to be in internal affairs. And if you want to look back at why I have so much controversy, it's because of this. It's because of this. I see things, I report them, I'm thrown out of the camp. They call me back. I see things, I report them, I'm thrown out of the camp. And I'm fine with it. But I want you to know that the reason why people do not see more is because it's too expensive. It's too expensive. And if you want to be a long hunter, you have to let go of the idea that you are not deceived. It becomes more affordable when you approach that way. Every single media outlet calls Julian, Assange, and Chelsea Manning 3 things. Every single one. Have never seen one not use these words. Trustworthy, tortured, and innocent. All of those. The next thing, the PSYOP does not break any laws for leaking classified information. This is a biggie. You guys know that Steve Bannon is actually in prison right now. And I'm here to tell you that he's in prison for political reasons. That's it. And when you want to start doping, if you want to get into Hollywood and be an A-list actor, every single thing that you do on the side is going to count. And if anyone has any beef with you, say that you got your man in the White House and theirs didn't, they're going to come after you. And that what's crucial to me, the biggest footprint that I saw was realizing this isn't a classified document. Do you know how I knew that? I have I'll just say level 2 classified rating. And that level 2 classified rating was a lot of bullshit, like a lot. A lot of people had to come check my past. People were coming to ask people I grew up with, what do you know about James Drew? And they're like, oh, Jimmy, oh my God. Oh, did you know about that? And it's yeah, it's weird. But anyway, when I saw Julian Assange, I was like, oh my God, what did you leak? And I, as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait a minute, this is classified. And then I was like, wait, no, it's not. And I knew that it wasn't because I know what classified material looks like. And it kind of hit me. I was like, wait a minute. Every newspaper that published this would be sent to prison. Look, like, this is not classified. Not only is it not marked classified, but I'm telling you, man, they would be coming to go, well, you can't publish that. It's not. And I know if you love Assange, I still love Assange. This is why it's so delicate what I have to do. It's so delicate because I still want you to find the belief. And if you accept the fact that you're deceived, you're going to be able to enjoy Julian Assange because of the cult that surrounds it. What I mean by that is you're going to be able to tap into those people. This is what I tried to explain to Jason. I was like, I'm not here attacking your community because I think community is really the only thing that is going to get us back to a confederacy, this other way. I'm not interested in saying everyone who's in this circle has to. I hate how many I lose because I will wake up and I will say, guys, did you see what David Icke posts? And I did that. And anyone who likes David Icke thinks I don't like David Icke. And they're right to, I understand, but it's sad because I'm the long hunter saying I found a banner elk 17 miles out. And people are like, no, you didn't. I'm like, well, what's this fucking antler? You made that up. And if you bring the elk back, which I do, they won't look at it. They won't. They won't. This isn't a poor me, by the way. I've had a lot of poor me. This isn't. I'm here giving you the art of deception. Chelsea Manning was given a Vogue cover girl. Put on the cover of Vogue. Julian Assange was given Pamela Anderson as a Hollywood girlfriend. He was photographed with a kitten. This PSYOP satisfies everyone on the left and everyone on the right, believe it or not. Then on the left, you've got the trans agenda plugged in, the anti-war agenda. On the right, you've got the pro-truth super white guy agenda. And that this is everything you would need for a two-party system to cling on to a central idea. And the only thing you have to watch out for is that you don't actually want to break the law in case one of your political enemies decides to come after you. And honestly, this is why this hasn't really worked. It hasn't worked because it doesn't have enough authenticity to us, and we're starting to detect things that are more authentic, and that's important. That's really important. So, boop, boop, boop. This is the Mona Lisa, and it's inside the Louvre, and it's behind a bulletproof. It's behind a bulletproof barrier. The Mona Lisa is in the Louvre behind a bulletproof barrier, and anyone in the public can get there. Does anybody know what I'm about to say? That shit ain't real. That shit ain't real. But James, it's behind a bulletproof... Yeah. You get it? Do you get it? But James, if it's fake, why would they put it behind a bulletproof... Do you get it? Do you get it? Well, why are they ridiculing us? I don't know if they're ridiculing you. If you found the most sacred spot in the world, the spot where the ark of Noah was opened up after the last reset, and you knew where that place was, would you list it as one of the 7 wonders of the world? Would you encourage people to come draw dicks on it and say, Kilroy was here? Would you leave the pyramids completely open where the local people were able to fill the bottom chambers, just fill it up with sand and just block off the doors? Why? Because they wanted to give you tours so they could charge you money, but their back hurt and they didn't feel like walking down to the bottom. So they literally filled it up with sand and rocks, put on a faux wall for it. If you were the Rockefellers and you knew this was the most sacred place in the world, would you open it to the public? Would you give it to Hawass, that dude, the Egypt antiquities guy? Would you let Egypt have it? Would you be like, hey, Egypt, you guys got your shit together? You guys are totally got your shit together. Would you do that? Or would you venerate it and do this instead? Does the normal person deserve to see the Mona Lisa? Do you hear how arrogant that is? Because when I was younger, I said, fuck yeah, man. Of course they deserve to see her. Are you kidding? That's holding the sacred vibration of what's important to consciousness to make us grow. And if you hold that from us, then you're evil and you're stifling us. And all that's true. Every bit of that's true. Seeing is believing. And also, when you reach Freemason level, and you start to see some kids getting raped or whatever it is, you start to realize these people are not to be trusted. You feel that way. You know why you feel that way? Because you love yourself. You love yourself enough to say, I can't take this anymore. And you start to grow. When you start to grow, you put on a facade and you protect things. I had to block someone the other day on Twitter because they're like, I'm going to make your dead dad a piece of furniture now on my tweet thread. This is someone I've known a while. I was actually her patron. And I think she's probably mad about the Jason thing. So it's like, okay, whatever. But it's like, you're not doing that to my dad. You're not fucking doing that. And I remember 5 years ago when I posted something about my dad, I instantly regretted it because someone came along and they did this to it. They threw feces on it. It was like, well, maybe you're just not a good veteran. That's what they fucking said. I was telling people that if you say thank you for your service to a veteran who feels that what we did is wrong, it proves that you're not actually saying thank you for your service, because if that veteran tries to correct you, you're going to get mad at them. And they were mad at me. They're like, well, you're not a real veteran. It's like, well, I was in the Gulf War. I have got a little fucking medal. I never put it on, but I got a little medal from it. I didn't do anything. I'm just telling you that anytime I go to Lowe's and there's like a veteran parking, I know I'm totally qualified to be there. I've got a DD-214. I've got all the stuff. I could brag about it. I could show up in a fucking parade and march right now. But I don't want to hear thank you for your service. And when someone tells me that, I want to tell them, hey, what do you think's going on really? And then they're like, you're a bad veteran. You're a bad veteran. And that's what taught me none of this is real. That this person needs to feel thank you for your service because we live in the land of Mixcoatl. It took me years to get here. Thank God I have patrons because I was able to get a passion and dive into Mesoamerica. And honestly, those words are so long, it's a tough thing to break through. I'm still embarrassed. I got butt crack coming out of my ass trying to pronounce some of these things, but I have to practice in front of you because that's how it makes me learn. And when I learn, I start to gain confidence. Remember what I told you about? I don't have to know this stuff. The confidence comes through, you know? And so I expect a facade for anything valuable. I expect a mulligan for anything valuable. What if I was to tell you that the pyramids was a jobs program? What if I was to tell you that the shafts of life that Graham Hancock told you that pointed directly to the stars, that those fucking things curve? I don't mean that like the shifting of the earth causes, I mean they've got fucking angles. One side is like chink, left turn 38 degrees, right turn 16 degrees. We got to avoid this other chamber, and then now you can go straight up. And the other one just has like a curve. So like a ball would come down and roll and not hit the other side. And you've got Robert Schoch and Graham Hancock, two of the biggest names, not Schoch, but the other guy. He really needs to get his name nailed here because he was the main one. But Duval. Really great guys as a kid. They're still my idols. Do you understand why this is hard? They're still my idols. And I can't go around bashing these people. If I do, you lose tribe. And if you lose tribe, you may suffer because as a long rifleman, none of these tribes are going to even accept you. You're going to come in and go, hey, man, there's some fucking better. It's like, we don't want to hear from you. It's like, but there's some, we don't want to hear from you. It's like, but I love you. We don't want to hear from you. I've broken their loyalty because I'm internal affairs. And this is how it works. It's okay. I used to say, you got to change that. I don't want you to change that. I want you to find each other. I want you to have a good time. If you find each other and you have a good time, I think naturally you're going to gain more electricity. The more calories you have, you're just going to spend them better. I trust you to spend those calories better. Right now, there's a lot of abuse. But this is the best I can do, you know? It's just the thing that makes the most sense to me. And quite frankly, I don't like how everyone's about, oh, well, you have to know. You have to know that the ISS is exactly fake and exactly this way, or you have to know this, or you have to know this, and I don't know. And honestly, I'm always afraid of losing friends when I see that they think a certain thing, and I don't reply to their article, and it's not, even though I know that it would be polite if I just pretended to agree, I don't think that that's what I don't want to give them that. And you could call that arrogant. I just want my honey to be fucking authentic, man. That's all. I don't need it to be right. But I just really want to honor it. And if I don't put a comment down, even though I'm like, man, this person's got such great energy, but I just don't agree with them about that. I'm torn over what to do. I'm torn over it because I understand how important the culture is, the connection is, but also I have an internal affairs job to do. I don't need you to believe the earth is flat or round or ball it doesn't matter to me. I want to have dinner with you. I want to go hunting with you. I don't need to be wearing the same colors as you are. I've told you guys over and over that the highest commercial flight you're going to find is 40,000 feet. Some of you are going to correct me and say, no, it's 50,000 in the Concorde. And I'm going to say, okay, thank you for the correction. And then I'm still going to tell you that 20,000 feet above that, there's only 32 people that are allowed to be there. I'm sorry, there's only 16 people that are allowed to be there. This is the U2. It's a autonomous. No one's inside. It refuels itself autonomously. It never has to land. It has modules that are installed. You can change different modules. Sometimes modules go underneath the plane. Sometimes they go on top. A module is an extension that gives an object certain capabilities. And one of those things is the ability to create a shadow from far away. When I say shadow, it's probably a false target. It's a false target probably created through a sound beam. And that you see really low-tech versions of this in the holographic things that spin, where the light only shines in certain places. That through this disarray on top of this thing, the U2 could broadcast the ISS flying directly overhead. And that broadcast would be captured in every camera, every telescope, accurately, because there really is a shadow there. And that just like we worshiped the pyramids back then, just like NASA was a job program, we're worshiping them now, and her name is ISS. This is beautiful to me. This is beautiful to me. This is Isis. And this is the only way you could worship her, is here in our modern times. And we call Isis the ISS. And that the truth of what government is government can never, ever, ever function on truth. Government's going to have to function on belief, and that belief's going to have to be more believable than anything else any of us could imagine. More believable than anything else Jeff Bezos could come up with. Although Jeff Bezos' grandfather worked for DARPA, so it's really the same thing. But these guys don't need to disagree. These guys look at this as, I want to give the people furniture. I want this furniture. I want them to argue over it. I want them to play with it. I want them to play with it. And when you look at the pyramid, I think that you're looking at a giant mulligan. You can stub your toe in the king's chamber. Really bad. Really bad. The shafts do not point to Orion's belt because there's no way to look directly down the shaft. It's going to bend within 5 feet. You're not going to be able to see it. So the starlight, lovely idea. I don't want to ruin this for you. In fact, if you want to say the acoustics of the starlight, I'm with you still. I am. I just want to point out when these people are stretching the truth. And maybe I should stop. People tell me to stop all the time. They do. They're like, stop. Stop. And I do stop. You won't believe how many times I don't say something. You wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. When I say something, it's because I see something very dangerous. Just so you know. I see something very dangerous. I see something very dangerous right now. I really think the country closed on March 22nd. I know that people can't afford it. I could easily say, yeah, they just don't believe it because it's not true. I know it's true. And what I told you in the beginning, I don't need to be right. I've never felt anything stronger. If I was going to do this, I would have closed it then, and I would have kept all this now. It would have been right in the middle of the masks. And during that time, I would have shut down the DAPL. I would have done this. During the DAPL protest, Dakota Access Pipeline, during the same week that I told you, remember the 7 days that America was closed? This was exactly 7 days later. That's from Section 5 of the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, granted power for the Secretary of Interior to have the authority to require land and trust for the tribe. And that this was fucking revoked. In the middle of the DAPL protest, in the middle of Corona, one of the most busiest times in the world, the tiniest stroke of a pen happened. And because it doesn't have the dilation, because it doesn't have the fluff, because it's not on a sparkler, everyone missed it, including me. And I saw it last week, and I've been like going, hey, and I remember, oh yeah, this is how it felt last time. I told everybody, it felt just like this. It's okay. I don't feel like I'm a failure because people don't get it, but also I'm no longer convinced that it's because I haven't said it correctly. I think it's because it's too expensive for people, and frankly, they're having too much fun right now in the middle of the election. And I want people to have fun because they will gain more calories that way. If you listen to what Sitting Bull said, he said, I am a red man. Think about Mixcoatl, and he has the red and white fields where he grows children to be sacrificed. And in order for them to be sacrificed, they have to be kind of veal-like in their head, okay? Sitting Bull said, I am a red man. If the Great Spirit had desired me to be a white man, he would have made me so in the first place. He put in your heart certain wishes and plans. In my heart he put other indifferent desires. Each man is good in his sight. It is not necessary for eagles to be crows. The irony that the red people were sacrificed inside the soil of Mixcoatl, and now the white people are sacrificed inside the Mixcoatl, should not be taken lightly. Vox said this. This is not the U2 level truth, but I want you to see this is another harmonic of it. This is an octave of it. Vox sees the octave of this, which was, while Indian country was responding to the growing number of coronavirus cases in its community late Friday, the Trump administration was busy revoking the reservation status of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe in Massachusetts. And that this is not even the whole story. They actually, excuse me, I got a pimple in my nose. They, not only is this not the whole story, but DAPL was laid on top of, so the government closed, everyone's wearing a mask, everyone's like, get this mask off me. The protests start. In the middle of all that, a single act was signed that said, oh, we're going to restructure how you have land. And a precedence was set that releases America's legal binding obligation to just about every reservation in America. And the story hasn't broken yet because that shoe hasn't dropped, and it will never drop on the news. It will never happen. It will never be written. Ron Paul will never, ever be taken to jail for not paying his taxes, and you will never hear what I just told you. It's not necessary. The people don't even need it. The people still think the country's open. The people are never going to be bothered by this. And that this was the last straw that was needed to disassemble the legal ownership that the federal government has, which includes their obligation to honor sovereign land. It's big. And it happened the same week because that's when the fog of war hit. It hit, man. You were hit with masks. You were hit with vaccines. You were hit with all this stuff. And all that's scary. Don't get me wrong. But there was something deeper that's just too expensive. And it was this. It was this. And us, meaning me too, we were too ignorant at the time. We didn't know what we were up against because we've never faced this kind of Wetiko before. As I've said before, Turtle Island, the White House, was in northern Illinois. The Onondaga were the Supreme Court. The Cayuga and the Seneca were the House of Representatives. The Oneida and the Mohawk were the senators. And that before Columbus discovered America, there was a thriving country here, which means he didn't discover it, he erased it. And the only way you can erase America is you move the White House. This is a symbol of the Longhouse. Haudenosaunee is the name for the Longhouse. The government that existed here, the Iroquois Confederacy, went all the way down to the tips of Florida, up to the very reaches of Nova Scotia, all the way out to what we now call present St. Louis, an integrated culture that existed. And that their government was a bicameral house, and that when British, Spanish, and French eviscerated this country from 3 different directions, it still wouldn't go down. And the only way they could kill this is they moved the White House into a place that was bigger. And so they took the Iroquois Confederacy and they moved it to D.C. And the reason why we hate the word Confederacy is because that's part of us trying to destroy that culture. That the Mason-Dixon line was, there are still too many Turtle Island residents that are not giving up. They keep screaming, we already have a government. We already have a government. How fucking dare you? And that, frankly, they just kept being lied to and lied to and lied to. But before we did, this is something I missed last time, and I hate that I missed this point. I said I was going to say it. I didn't get to it. Before this, the Iroquois Confederacy had one thing that our government doesn't. Everything else is the same. There's one crucial difference. Back then, they had a guy named Snakes in his hair. His name was Tadaho, Indian chief. Crazy mofo. Crazy. El Chapo, you know, Heisenberg, all those roll into one. And the Iroquois Confederacy was brilliant. They were like, we're going to put you in charge. He was like, I'm in charge. He's like, yeah, we're going to put you in charge because you're the king badass. He was like, all right. And so a guy who was opposing everyone, who was calling wars on all these people, was now in charge of the whole thing. And just like you've been fooled, he was fooled. And why was he fooled? Because of this one thing. The greatest thing the Iroquois Confederacy had was a unanimous veto. Now, I'm calling this unanimous veto, but really if you read their Iroquois Constitution, which you can read right now, you can download it, it will say that everyone has to agree. Meaning that if we're going to do something with our government, everyone here has to vote yes. The majority was not a hypothetical that held power. That if we want to change something about the government, everyone has to agree. And that's why I'm calling it a unanimous veto. Unanimous veto means that every single person is the president. Every single person gets to declare war. Every single person is the president. And this is such a crucial, fundamental difference between the land that was there then and the land that's there now. There's no way that we could have built the fat-ass bureaucracy that we have if we didn't have unanimous veto. And it's precisely that made Turtle Island work. And it's precisely that brought Turtle Island down. This is the bigger lesson. That we were the able. America is the able. Wetiko is the cane. And that this isn't just us. This is the Onondaga. This is the Cayuga. This is all of these great, great cultures, including the Cherokee even, that were part of this larger thing. And that they got wiped out because they were giants. They were giants. They were giants. Guys, all of these are arcs of covenant. These are all the mounds in the United States that we found. They're all preservations. Preservations from a flood. Preservations from a time that we didn't want to remember. They were acorn eaters. Every legend says they're acorn eaters. And the reason why I think this is a big deal is because if you're going to eat acorns, you're going to have to be able to swallow tannins. You're going to have to be able to taste tannins. Tannins are some of the most acidic chemicals that you can find. And if you've ever been to a pond that's like dark, dark brown, it's because of the tannins. That when the leaves fall in the water, that this acidic substance, these tannins, seep into the water, and it is disgusting. It is so gross. And the reason why we remember the acorn eaters back then is because they did not have the same kind of taste development that we did. That they had more of a cud-like diet, and that cud-like diet would be because they were the giants. They were the ones that were here before us. They were here to carry our seed. The history of Amuraka is actually much more related to the Tower of Babel than we think. And if you missed my episodes earlier this week, you should check it out. I'll just skip it there, but I wanted to get that in because I forgot to say it. There's so much technology here that will never be talked about. I hope you can hear this.
This is a simple echo. Actually, it's very simple to explain. When you clap in front of a pyramid, of a slope, the sound will go to the top. In this case, a pyramid. You know? And if it's there a cavity or a temple, like in this case, the echo will come back to you. If you clap in front of an Egyptian pyramid, nothing happens because the sound goes away. But here, the sound comes back. Why it sounds like a bird? Don't ask me that, because we don't know.
There's so much going on here. And it's so much more beautiful than the fantasies we're telling each other. It really is. It's so much more. It's just, we're nervous. And Watiko lets us think we know what we're doing. Watiko lets us think we're not deceived. At the ultimate, at the heart of what Watiko is, it's this belief that we're not deceived. Let's close the show out. I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Would love your comments about all this. As you're watching the politics, I want you to hear the native nature of these things come up. Imagine that the time of the pyramids had this sort of, or the time of, say, Templo Mayor had the same kind of thing where people were brought up to be sacrificed. It's the truth is sacrificed is really what it is. Thank you for watching James True. Got a special outro for you. Hope you enjoy it. And yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. We'll see you next time.
Crazy horse, we hear what you say. One earth, one mother. One does not sell the earth the people walk upon. We are the land. How do we sell our mother? How do we sell the stars? How do we sell the air? Crazy horse, we hear what you say. Too many people standing their ground, standing the wrong ground. Predator's face, he possessed a race. Possession, a war that doesn't end. Children of God feed on children of earth. Days people don't care for people. These days are the hardest. Material fields, material harvest. Decoration on chain that binds. Mirrors gold. The people lose their minds. Crazy horse, we hear what you say. One earth, one mother. One does not sell the earth the people walk upon. We are the land. day is now and then. Dream smokes touch the clouds. On a day when death didn't die, real world time tricks shadows lie. Red, white, perception, deception. Predator tries civilizing us, but the tribes will not go without return. Genetic light from the other side, a song from the heart, our hearts to give. The wild days, the glory days live. Crazy horse, we hear what you say. One earth, one mother. One does not sell the earth the people walk upon. We are the land. How do we sell our mother? How do we sell the stars? How do we sell the air? Crazy horse, we hear what you say. Crazy horse, we hear what you say. We are the seventh generation. We are the seventh generation.